Today, we are going to do Organizing Part 3. And in this, we are going to learn about delegation, the various elements of delegation, its importance, and also decentralization, its importance, and the difference between delegation and decentralization. So let's start with delegation. Now, delegation is transfer of authority from the superior to his immediate subordinate. So when the superior gives some part of his work to his subordinate to do it, and along with that he transfers certain amount of his authority to the subordinate, then this is called delegation of authority. It is between two levels, the superior and the subordinate. And by doing this, the manager can concentrate on more important matters. Now let us understand with the help of an example. Now it is the relation between the superior and the subordinate. Let me give you an example. Suppose the marketing manager, he tells the salesman that whatever is to be sold, you can sell it on credit only if the amount is above 500. If somebody buys goods below 500, don't sell it on credit. Udhar mat bechna. So you can sell goods on credit only if it is above 500. And saying that, the marketing manager, he goes for his own job. Now the salesman is there in the shop looking after the sales. So one client comes who is an old customer. He's been coming to the shop for a number of years. And that client purchases goods which totals up to $499. And the customer says, I've always been buying it on credit. I've never bought it on cash and I'm not even carrying cash. Now what should the salesman do? If the salesman sells it to him because he's an old customer for $499 on credit, then he's not listening to the marketing manager. Then the marketing manager will say, why did you sell it when I told you not to? And suppose the salesman does not sell it for $499, then they're going to lose a very valuable and an old customer. So therefore, the salesman is in a fix. Now, what would you do if you've been in this situation? Think about it. I'll give you a solution. But before that, I'll explain what delegation is. This is delegation of authority by the superior to his subordinate, by the marketing manager to the salesman. So by now you must have thought of the answer. What the salesman did was he bought a toffee for 1 rupee and put that in the bill. Now the bill became 500. Now it could be sold on credit, and he ate up the toffee himself and returned 1 rupee to the customer. So this is how he managed to wriggle out of such a tricky situation. But basically, delegation is giving of work and along with that authority by the superior to his immediate subordinate. It is at two levels. Now, in delegation of authority, we have authority, responsibility, and accountability. In the example that I've already given, let me explain what authority is, what responsibility is, and what accountability is. So when the marketing manager told the salesman that you can sell goods below 500 on credit, then he was giving authority to the salesman to sell any goods below 500 on credit. That is the authority the salesman had. He could make credit sales. Now, it was the salesman's responsibility to understand it. It was his duty that he does not do anything wrong, that he sells goods above 500 on credit and below 500 on cash. And suppose the salesman doesn't do it, then he's answerable to his superior. He's answerable to the marketing manager. That is called accountability. So if the salesman does not listen to what the marketing manager says, then he's accountable to the marketing manager, and marketing manager can question him as to when you were clearly told this is what you have to do, why did you not do it? So this is the process of delegation. It is also called the steps of delegation. Now let us study each one of them one by one. Let's first start with the authority. Authority means the right of an individual to get the work done from his subordinate. This is the power that the superior has to get the work done from his subordinate. And authority is the highest at the top level, and it flows downward from the top to the bottom. And authority only determines the subordinate superior relationship, because the subordinate will get his authority from his superior only. Then come to responsibility. Responsibility is the obligation or the duty of the subordinate to do the work that has been assigned to him. And responsibility flows upwards. The subordinate is responsible to his superior. And there should be a balance between authority and responsibility. That means they should commensurate with each other. They should be equal to each other. Otherwise, the work cannot be done. Now comes accountability. Accountability simply means answerability. The subordinate is answerable to his superior. Just like the subordinate is answerable to his superior, similarly, the superior is answerable to his own superior. So accountability flows upwards, and accountability cannot be delegated in any case. Accountability cannot be delegated at all. Now come to the relationship. Now, relationship between them is that authority is delegated, that is delegation of authority. Responsibility is assumed. It has to be assumed by the person to whom the authority has been done to do the work. So responsibility is the obligation or the duty, and it has to be assumed by the subordinate, and accountability is imposed. Accountability has to be put on you. You have to be made accountable for the work. And also, responsibility is derived from authority. First you get the authority, then you are made responsible for that. And accountability is derived from responsibility. So those people who understand their duty and do it well, then they only understand their accountability. So like the diagram drawn here, first comes authority, then responsibility, and then accountability. Now come to the importance of delegation of authority. First of all, effective management. When the superior passes on some part of his work to his subordinate, then he is able to do his own work much better, because little bit of his work is being done by his subordinate, and therefore he is able to function in a more efficient manager, as an efficient manager. Then employee development. Now what happens to the employee or the subordinate? Now when the superior has given some part of his work to the subordinate, and the subordinate is doing that work which was actually the work of the superior, then this leads to his own development. Let me give you another example here. General manager wanted to buy some copiers for the organization. So he took his purchase manager with him. Now these photocopiers were to be purchased in the name of the general manager. But he took the purchase manager along with him, and he finalized the photocopier, and he signed the check for the amount, and he told the purchase manager to close the deal and get the photocopier delivered and installed. Understand what all the functioning is, what the guarantees, everything the purchase manager was supposed to do. Now these photocopies were to be purchased in the name of the general manager. It was his work, but he took his subordinate to get that work done. So this was delegation of authority. Now what happened, that purchase manager also got to know how to buy the photocopy. He learned so many things. So development of employee takes place with delegation of authority. Then motivation of employees. Now this purchase manager who went with the general manager to finalize the deal for the photocopier, his self-esteem must have increased, because he felt that my boss has faith in me. He took me because he thought that, yes, I'm the right person. He left all the work to me. He did not stay back the entire time. He left the work for me and went about doing his own work. So tomorrow, if somebody is to be considered for promotion, maybe he'll suggest my name. So the self-esteem and the confidence of the employee increases, and this leads to motivation of the employees. Then facilitates growth. Now when the people working below you, they are as capable of doing the work as you are. You have been giving a part of your work to your subordinates all the time, and they're also learning the tricks of the trade. Then in that case, they become ready to take up any job. So this facilitates growth. So if the organization wants to expand or take up any new project, they already have people who are quite experienced to be able to do that job. Then basis of management hierarchy. Now delegation, I told you earlier, also is between two levels, between the superior and the subordinate. So the management hierarchy becomes very clear. You know who is your superior, from whom you have to take authority. You are accountable to only one superior and not more than one superior. You are not accountable to any other superior. Every subordinate has only one superior. So this establishes the management hierarchy. Then better coordination. Now, whenever all the departments are clear, superior subordinate relationship is clear, and all the duties have been assigned very properly, then this leads to coordination, because each department is able to do the work they have been told to do, and therefore this leads to better coordination. Now let's do the difference between them, between authority, responsibility, and accountability. The meaning: authority is the power that a superior has over the subordinate, that is the right to command. Responsibility is the obligation or the duty, and accountability is the answerability of the subordinate to the superior. Then delegation, this is a very important point. Authority can be delegated. Responsibility cannot be entirely delegated. Please remember that. And accountability cannot be delegated at all. Origin. authority arises from the formal position that you're holding. So you have authority according to the position that you have. The higher the position, the more the authority. And responsibility arises out of the authority that has been passed on to you to do the work. And accountability arises out of responsibility. Then comes the flow. Authority always flows downwards from the top to the bottom, and responsibility flows upwards from the bottom to the top. You are responsible to your superior, and accountability also flows upwards. So this is a comparative analysis of the difference between them. Decentralization. Now, decentralization is at all the levels. So top, middle, lower level. Delegation was between two levels, and decentralization is at all the levels. Let me give you an example. This general manager who took his manager to purchase the photocopy machine, that was between the superior and his immediate subordinate. But the same general manager called all the departmental heads and the sub-departmental heads and told them that they can purchase stationery for their own department up to 2,000. Every month they can purchase the stationery up to 2,000 rupees for their own department. This is called delegation. All the decision regarding the stationery, what type of stationery, what type of pen, etc., they have to decide and they have to buy it themselves. So that is why we say delegation is dividing by 2 and decentralization is multiplying by many. So decentralization is nothing but extension of delegation to all the levels. So let us study what it is. So it is a systematic effort to delegate to the lowest level. So everybody down the hierarchy is given certain power to take decisions on their own. And this decision-making power is placed nearest to the point of action. So those people who are going to need it, they only buy it. For example, the department is going to need stationery, they only go and buy it for themselves. And the manager does not give all the authority to the lower level management. Selective dispersal, this is a very important point. So this can come in case studies also. He selectively disperses. So the general manager has allowed people to buy stationery, but he has not allowed them to buy machinery. So more important things he keeps for himself. So selectively he disperses certain amount of authority to subordinate because he feels that the people are competent, capable, and resourceful. Now, what is the importance of decentralization? It develops initiative amongst the subordinates. So once the subordinates are given certain authority to do the work, like they have to buy the stationery themselves, then it makes them self-reliant and confident. Now they are going to go and buy it. They are not going to get it as it is. They will have to go and negotiate and buy it. So the self-confidence increases and the ability to take initiative also increases. Then develops managerial talent for the future. Now today they are buying stationery. Tomorrow they will be authorized to buy machinery and other things also. So handling assignments independently is very important. They may have all types of training, but the practical aspect comes when you start taking up assignments yourself. So a reservoir of qualified people are created. They may not be doing a high level job, but they're being prepared to do high level job. Then quick decision making. Because decision making is being taken by the people who have been given the authority. For everything, you don't have to go to the top management. So all the levels in between are removed. So decision is taken by the people who are nearest to the point of action, and therefore the decision is very quick. Earlier, if the manager had not done decentralization, every time anybody wanted stationery, they would have had to go to the top management. But now they're buying it themselves, so they don't have to wait for the permission of the top management or go to them and tell them, and it's a long process. All that has been cut short through decentralization, and therefore decision making becomes very quick. Then relief to the top management. Now the top management has delegated most of its work to all the levels. So therefore the amount of work that the top management has regarding the operational work is much less. The top management can now concentrate on more important things like policy decisions instead of operational decisions. Now this facilitates growth. If the lower level people are doing the work that the high level people are doing, and at every level they have been given some authority to take decisions themselves, and this leads to development of the personnel as well as growth of the economy, because everybody now becomes independent. And since everybody has been given that authority, like to buy a stationery of 2,000 per month, all the departments are pitted against each other. They're in competition with each other, a healthy competition with each other. So everybody wants to outperform themselves. So as a result, growth takes place and better control. Now, when you have been told to buy the things yourself, then control automatically is affected. If something has been brought to you and given to you, then you can find a lot of faults. For example, your father, he buys a mobile for you, then you may find so many faults in that mobile. But suppose he says, okay, take 30,000, go and buy a mobile. So you buy a mobile, and even if there are so many faults in it, you will never highlight it. You will never say that anything is wrong. So control can be exercised only when authority is passed on to the lowest level. And because then they can be held responsible for the work that they have done. And measurement of performance is also done to again check whether the control is being done properly, so that nobody misuses the decentralization. There are various methods like management information system, and innovative systems can be developed to keep a control on the people who have been given authority. Now come to the difference between delegation and decentralization, and this is very important. First is the nature. Delegation is compulsory and it is for routine work, and decentralization is optional. Remember, there can be centralization also. Then freedom of action. Now the subordinate doesn't have too much of freedom. He still has to listen to everything that the superior says. He just is doing the work of the superior. So freedom is less. Whereas in decentralization, you have all the freedom. Like the manager said, go and buy stationery for 2,000. So you can go and buy whatever you want. You have full freedom. Then the status. Status is to share the task. The superior's task is shared by the subordinate. But decentralization is a policy decision. It is taken by the top management and it is a policy decision. Then scope. Delegation is narrow because it is between two levels, the superior and the subordinate, and decentralization is wide because it is at all the levels. And the purpose of delegation is to reduce the work of the superior, whereas in decentralization, the purpose is to increase the role of the subordinate. So this is the difference between the two. And now come to the case study. This looks like a very long case study. So we'll read the question first, and then we'll go about finding the answer. So the question says, identify and explain briefly the concept used by Anup Gaur in the above case. Okay, which concept? Now concept could be function, could be anything. So let's go about it and see. Anup Gaur started a Cat's Eye, a company for providing cybersecurity solutions to businesses. Its objective is to prevent, detect, and respond to cyber attacks and protect critical data. He was a hardworking software engineer and an expert in cybersecurity. His reputation grew by leaps and bounds as he was not only a person of integrity, but also did his work with utmost honesty and sincerity. The business started growing day by day. He was delighted when he was offered a big project by the Ministry of Science and Technology. While working on the project, he found that the volume of work made it impractical for him to handle all the work by himself. Therefore, he decided to expand the team. The company maintained a close liaison with an engineering college in the state. During a campus placement, Arav and Pranshi were appointed to work for the new project. He found the new employees capable, enthusiastic, and trustworthy. Anup was thus able to focus on the objectives, and with the help of Arav and Pranshi, the project was completed on time. Not only this, Anup was also able to extend his area of operations. On the other hand, Arav and Pranshi also got the opportunity to develop an exercise initiative. So identify the concept. So which concept are we talking about here? I think you would have got an idea about it. I'll give you a moment. Yes, this is what it is, able to extend his area of operation. The manager is able to extend his area of operation by passing on some of his work to his subordinate. And the concept is delegation. It is delegation of authority. Remember, children, if the case study is too long, don't get scared. You just read the question, what is asked, then start looking for that from that viewpoint and underline the points that you think are going to help you with the answer, so that when you're actually writing it down, you already have the points underlined. So there'll be absolutely no confusion for you while doing the paper. That's all in this video. Thank you.